Hi there, I am Winter, and welcome to my presentation today called Home Away from Home, a concept for Melbourne Zoo to take into consideration for the future planning of their zoo. So the first thing I did was to analyse Melbourne Zoo's main purpose for why they do what they do. And it was pretty evident by their website that their focus was to continue their quest with conservation of animals. They do this by raising awareness for multiple causes around the world that align with the conservation of animals. The next thing I did was to analyze the interfaces located on site. I brought it down to three different types, which was low and high fences and glass barriers. To me, I felt the glass was the strongest when it came to immersion. The fences had to sacrifice either the physicality of the fence being in the way, or had to be some distance away to prevent the animal from escaping. The next part was looking at the type of audience the zoo has. The general feeling I got from doing some research into what people thought was quite alarming, as most were centered on the possible mistreatment of animals. Now, I'm certain that the animals at Melbourne Zoo are being treated well, but I feel that this could lead to an opportunity for the zoo to present their exceptional treatment from animals to really set it apart from other zoos. So with that, I had my main points I wanted to focus on, which were to keep focus for the animals and a simpler layout so that it would be easier to traverse and go to specific areas, create a better connection between animals and human, and lastly to try and inspire the users to rally with the zoo with other worldwide causes. When creating my design, I had to choose two animals I felt that would help me generate ideas for the design. So after choosing the tortoise, I learnt that it's known for mainly roaming and grazing, but interestingly is known for creating pathways for other animals while wandering. With that, I started a few drawings to demonstrate and help it put it down, trying to depict the idea of generating pathways. And then it led me to create a system that has the users almost enact the tortoise wandering through the wilderness. The next animal I chose was the Sumatran tiger. I chose this because of its similarities to my own cat. The tiger is usually very territorial, like any species of cat. The tiger usually lives by itself and usually marks its territory with the use of scent. So when it came to the drawings of the tiger, I tried to show the idea of the tiger being surrounded by its sense of smell and the idea it has its own space. This exploration led me to my idea of having the zoo predominantly for the animals and shifting the focus from the user's experience and more onto the well-being of animals and even more. Now, onto the plan. I've decided to expand the area of the zoo onto the parklands below and pushing the boundaries the zoo currently is in and incorporating the road as the entryway into the zoo. So looking at the first phase of my design, the first thing you might notice is the different shapes of the enclosures. They are meant to represent the type of biome the animals are native to. Thus, they are grouped into 4 different biomes. I will explain this further later on. Here is a closer look at 2 monkey enclosures in the forest area. As you can see, the trees do not need to be cut as the enclosures will be built to try and avoid the trees from being removed, as there is some room to divert the walls. This is phase 2, which expands the enclosures right out, taking the walkways completely out of it, but it is still using the same trees. And the way the zoo would be run is the use of underground pathways so that it does not inconvenience the animals and only popping up in certain spots under the disguise as environmental features. So now explaining the grouping, it is mainly for the user to easily find a specific animal. The list of animals was from the zoo's website, and then I organized them into which habitat would be most suitable for them. The trees on site, along with the elevations of site, made it so that each section more closely represented with the type of climate the biome would normally encounter. The idea is that water flows down from the higher areas to lower areas and pools, creating different climates. So now looking at how the road interacts with the zoo, showing the entryway into the zoo and the road containing a safe place for people to cross the road. Also, another idea is that there can be some branching out in terms of planting. The zoo could possibly get endangered plants to be planted. Obviously, would have to be suiting to the climate, but it would follow the theme of conservation and also introduce more types of audiences to the zoo. Then we have the later rendition, which is meant to show how the underground pathways would possibly work. As mentioned before, the areas would pop up inside the enclosures, creating that feeling of truly wandering through their site. The next section is how the ocean section could possibly work, with views from under the water level and over. Then we have the rendering. I produced the first depicting the first initial phase, demonstrating the pathways people would use and how it interacts with the walls and windows onto the enclosures. The next is what an example of the next phase could look like, the idea of being in their home, surrounded by their world, almost as if you were in their home altogether. But by doing this, it also can get people to think about the types of homes the world may lose due to deforestation and other factors. Overall, my project plans to expand on the ideologies of conservation to zoo holds and using it as a way to market to the audiences and showing it to be a forward-thinking company that really cares for the conservation of animals all around the world. Thank you for listening.